This is my controversial 2023 Dragon Ball Legends character tier list. Let's get into it. I'm going to be bringing all of these units based off of their kits and their individual abilities and what they bring to a team. I am not factoring in what teams they are on. I am not factoring in color. It is just the units themselves. And most YouTubers will be making meta tier lists, which is why I'm going to be rating them based off of who I think is the best, just off of what they have to offer. That being said, we're going to jump right into this. To kick things off, we've got Gamma 1 and 2 taking the number 10 spot. And my reasoning for this is that I think the tag Gammas are one of the best units in the entire game in terms of offensive capabilities. If you get their core breaker off, they're annihilating a team. I mean, whoever's in, it really doesn't matter. They're getting absolutely obliterated if it's not a highly defensive unit. And also, the Gammas actually have some decent defensive capabilities, like they reduce your ki on first card when they switch in. They'll heal themselves a little bit, and they'll go type neutral. I don't remember the condition for that. But the Gammas are very, very strong. I think also very versatile on a team. They offer a lot, and they're also not easy to rush because when they take a hit with a card, they actually reduce their sub count slightly. I mean, these guys are incredibly balanced, and I think they deserve this number 10 spot. Coming in at number 9, taking a large fall off from the beginning of Legends Festival, we have Go Frieza. But to be fair, I expected this to happen because Go Frieza have crazy offensive capability. They have crazy rush control, which is huge. That is the only thing keeping them on this list in the first place. And honestly, if you wanted to argue them higher, I would agree with you. My reason for keeping them this low is that most Go Friezas that I fight and then I see other YouTubers fight are generally pretty squishy. They're not really a tanky unit, but if they were, they'd be pretty busted. But they do have the insane green card that increases your sub count. I mean, this unit is cracked. They have insane control when they're on the field with their sub count reduction, type neutral on blue cards, or any special card. I mean, this unit is nuts. I think if there's a Go Frieza on the other team, it is always intimidating, and I don't think they're going to really go away anytime soon. I just think that because they're not that tanky, it kind of makes them fall off. However, that is not to excuse how crazy their offense is. They are very, very strong. You should use them if you have them. Coming in at number 8, and this is definitely going to shock some people, we have the Unibros. And my reasoning for this is that they are probably the best offensive unit in the game. I'm not gonna lie. Their first green card on both the Goku and Vegeta side is nuts. They give themselves card protection. They give themselves cover null. There is almost no stopping them if they pop a green card. You just have to sit there and wait for the combo to end, which usually takes a while. However, there is a big drawback to them, and you probably know. It's the fact that they really struggle to tank. They do not tank any hits. Now, they do somewhat make up for it in their healing, which is why I'm putting them above Go Frieza, because I was contemplating not doing that. But because they heal, I am going to be putting them in the number 8 slot. But I just feel like they are more of a liability, especially with their lack of sub count reduction. They don't really have a lot of it in their kit. So running them on a team is actually more of a liability to me if you don't get them to snowball. However, that being said, if you get them to snowball, they're like probably the best unit in the game in terms of offense. Like, they will fill up their gauge so much. They'll get pretty much infinite cover null. They get infinite cards. I mean, when they get going, they get going. But until that happens, they're more of a liability than they are a menace. Coming in at number 7, I have Revival Pikkon into Gogeta. This guy actually gained a lot of stonks. The only reason why I'm putting him lower, I was going to put him in the top 5. However, the Pikkon side of this unit really bothers me because they restricted half of his kit to being Sagas from the Movies team. If you don't have a full Sagas from the Movies team, he does downfall, and so you kind of have to wait to go into Gogeta before you can really kickstart this unit. That being said, his green card, very good. He gives your team a lot of green cards. I mean, this guy brings a ton to a team. You can put him in the leader slot pretty much on any team. He's fine. I mean, he does his role. He's a revival unit. He tanks a rush and ult, whatever you need him to do that a normal unit can't tank. This unit is very nuts. They bring a lot to a team. His sub count reduction, very strong. He feels like you can control the battlefield when he's on your team. Coming in at number 6, I have Ultra Vegito Blue. This guy, I don't think he's going to be going away anytime soon. He is an offensive menace with some decent defensive capabilities. He gets that health restoration whenever he goes below 50% HP and goes type neutral on damage received for some time. Green card, as you guys know, green card, insane. It counters literally everything in the game except a rush and an ultimate and a blue card, I guess. This guy draws infinite strikes, he heals infinitely, it feels like his cover null is pretty much infinite, and then also the fact that he gains a free Dragon Ball on rush, he restores his vanish when he kills somebody, he team heals when he kills somebody. How do you stop this man? Like, when this guy came out, as you guys know, he was a menace. There was no stopping him. It was literally impossible, and the only blue that really could stop him at the time was MVP 17 and Sort of Hope. Sorry, I can't forget him. I think Ultra Vegeta Blue is very, very strong, and you can put him in the leader slot of pretty much any team, and he's your weapon. Making it to the top 5, we've got MVP 17. I wish I had him. This guy brings a ton to a team. He gives your team damage inflicted, he heals your team, he seals many abilities, he gets a free vanish whenever he fills up his gauge. Dude, this guy is crazy. I think that if there was one unit you could literally slap in the leader slot of any team and him be an absolute, like, just utility monster, it's this guy. This guy, it doesn't matter what the team is, put him on, he's gonna do his job. I mean, I don't actually know his kit fully. I just know generally what he does. If he has a universe rep restriction, that's kind of cringe, but I'm assuming he's not considering how good he is. This guy is crazy. I mean, the fact that he has endurance and he cancels your buffs when you use an ult, blue card, or rush, it's basically uncancelable endurance. If you really think about it, it's pretty much Goku and Bardock's indestructible effect. He just loses out on some of the healing. I just think this guy is nuts. If you don't have him, I feel bad for you. You're like me. This guy, literally put him on any team, and he's gonna be doing so much. I mean, it really is insane. Coming in at number 4, I have Ultra Janemba. I think Ultra Janemba is a really strong unit. The fact that he can stop any combo that it consists of a strike or some sort of melee blue card is insane. And the fact that he draws an ultimate his first time too is just crazy. He restores his vanish. This guy could be a last man standing unit because if you look at his kit, he actually gets his vanish back whenever an ally dies. Or sorry, he gets his gauge back when an ally dies. And that alone pushes him up pretty far because as you guys know, his gauge is very strong. It heals him a lot too, which is, I mean, any sort of healing on a regeneration unit is going to make him crack because he already heals over time. He heals when he presses his main, and then he heals a bunch when, like, this guy is crazy. And the fact that he starts with his gauge filled is a pretty big deal. I mean, Ultra Vegito Blue has to tank 3 cards, or I think it lessens if you get hit with the blue card ult, but Ultra Janemba just starts with it. And I mean, Ultra Janemba applies so much bleed to the entire team as well. I mean, he really does bring a lot to a team. He, like Ultra Vegito Blue, you can put him in the leader side of pretty much any team, and he's your weapon. Now we're going to be going into the Legends Festival part of this because the top 3 consists of every character from Legends Festival. And at number 3, I'm putting Goku and Bardock. I think this is pretty obvious. I think most people can agree that this unit is a top 3. I think most people would put them in top 5, and if you don't, sorry, something's wrong with you. Their indestructible in mechanic is really strong because a lot of people were actually confused. They're like, well, why is everyone glorifying it? It's just a better version of endurance. That's why it's so strong. It's a better version of it. It's uncancelable endurance. Uncancelable anything is always going to be strong, especially with endurance. They can take anything. You have MVP 17 on your team. They're basically an MVP 17 if you think about it. They think of it as like when MVP 17 cancels your buffs when you rush them. That's the same thing with them, but they heal more. And they stop your combo because they delete a bunch of your cards. They force you not to switch. That mechanic alone is going to make them so strong forever because no matter what stars you have them, they're guaranteed to survive a combo. However, you can't get outplayed if you don't play it right. But I think that alone makes them very strong. I haven't even gone into the fact that their blue card is really strong. Their green card is nuts. Their gauge is really, it gives them like 10, 15 counts of card protection. I mean, they scale, and their indestructible mechanic helps them a lot. Here's where the big debate's gonna happen. Am I putting Ultra UI at number 2 or Beast Gohan? And the answer is Ultra UI. The reason why I have him at number 2, well, let's go into the positives first. Guy stops the switch. He's the modern version of LF Cooler, as Goresh says. He basically one-shots any unit in the entire game unless they're red. Well, I guess not any unit, but for the most part, I mean, this guy is doing a lot of damage. His ult does so much. He also can stop a combo like Ultra Janemba. If you use any sort of strike-based card, like a melee blue or a strike arts, he can dodge it as long as he has sufficient gauge, even if you're in the middle of a combo. Though he can't counter, but he'd actually be number 1 if he could counter that, which I'm glad he can't. He is literally MUI with the fact that he can nullify a Dokubaki impact if he loses. He's UI sign in the sense that he has a really strong green card and he can get his gauge back. I mean, not relatively easily, but he can get it back in a few ways. I mean, Ultra UI is nuts. However, the reason why he is not at number 1 for me, he in some ways is like Unibros, where he's more of a liability because of the fact that he does not have a lot of sub count reduction, and he's very squishy. I mean, I've gotten one-shot by a lot of units. I've seen him get one-shot by a lot of units. That is the only reason why he is not at number 1. Now we gotta talk about why transforming Beast Gohan is at number 1. And I don't need to do a lot of explaining, but I will. For one, his pre-transformed gauge is very strong. It heals your entire team, reduces your sub count by 10, I believe. It gives him permanent damage inflicted, you and your team, actually. And then when you transform, it fills up his gauge, deletes your opponent's vanishing gauge, which, as you guys know, anything that does that is incredibly strong. Dragon Fist does it, UVB does it. There's so many units in the game that do it. I mean, it's a really strong effect. Also, when he goes into Beast, he is the only, in my opinion, he's the he is the best person in the game to win a 1v3 scenario. With the fact that you can get your gauge back every 4 counts 3 times, it's kind of hard to time. Usually you can only do it like once or twice, but you can do a lot of outplaying with him. You also get it back on blue card, I think 3 times. I could be wrong about that. Your green card nullifies, well, not nullifies, reduces their health restoration, deletes your opponent's green card. This guy does everything. And then he's also pretty tanky. I mean, I've used him. I've seen him get used. I don't know why, but this guy tanks better than a lot of units in the game. But in my opinion, transforming Beast just brings so much to the table, especially with the sub count reduction that UI does not really have. That is why transforming Beast is at number 1 for me. This is my 2023 Legends Festival tier list. for top, or it's the top 10 characters of 2020. Okay, the top 10 characters of 2023. There you go. That's the list. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.
All right! You're finished! Vegito! Go to hell! Yeah! Final